But this one, I think definitely takes the cake. The back and forth, we've had 5-man moshes. It doesn't seem to stop.
And it has always come down to the battleground, so let's take a look at where we've been and where we are going. The band started out with Warhead Junction, and I believe Tomb of the Spider Queen, if I'm remembering correctly. I am.
And then we went to Battlefield of Eternity, we've been to Braxis, we've been to Infernal Shrines, Towers, and now we're going to Sky Temple, which is going to bring a very interesting talking point that we have to bring up is...
We do.
Cloud9, the 3 core members, and their history on this map was near a 90% win rate against almost any team. They were unstoppable on Sky Temple. This whole series, whoever chose the map was the one who pulled out the win. And those two factors combined makes me feel like B-Step's about to take a pretty big leap.
But they can be out-rotated.
Okay.
When it comes to big maps, specifically teams who can take full advantage of globals. And who does that better than Gale Force Esports? It was done to them back at PAX West by Tempo Storm, our team that was Murloc Geniuses. They had their number. They knew exactly what Denial at the time, B-Step now, wanted to do because they always have this same pattern of plan. If B-Step hasn't changed things up, Gale Force know what B-Step's plans will be.
I agree that Gale Force is the team to global and out-rotate, but I have seen B-Step and those members play this map for a long period of time with an absurd success on it. That mixed with the fact that every person who picks the map wins, I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be them. Either way, we now know the seriousness of this situation that they're in. Is there going to be a lot of focus put onto the globals in this draft? Gale Force obviously going very deep into the pool. Malfurion will be the ban out. Is Artanis going to be the response here from B-Step, or will they move in a different direction? I do believe that they have not banned it so far yet in the series. That's only been on GFE's side.
You are correct.
All right, so B-Step most likely going to be letting that Artanis through, though it is, again, one of his better maps, more so than like Tomb of the Spider Queen or Infernal Shrines.
I remember when old Cloud9 actually lost to Team Blaze because of an Artanis pick way before he was even buffed, because it is a good battleground for him. This series it's had me on the edge of my seat, and I don't even have a seat. I know you guys at home are enjoying it. B-Step are looking at an Artanis ban. They understand the power of Artanis. It's won them games before.
It has managed to be able to pick them up games, and they are going to be able to remove that here. So Gale Force, do you stick to your roots then? Do you just insta-lock the Falstad? Is that it? What's the answer? Gilly, I gotta know.
I think it will probably be Falstad. I'm trying to think what else. Ragnaros is here. He's not a global. Dahaka, if they want Dahaka so that they can burrow in and be able to get drags. Brightwing and Akaface Classic is here. I love that as we get further into a series, the longer the picks take. Yeah, this means everything, these teams.
It absolutely does, and things get very tense on what went right and wrong. When you sit 2-2, when you win, obviously things kind of went how you expected, but when you lost, you have to suddenly kind of calculate with only a sample size of 2, what was the actual problem? Was it composition or was it direct misplay? And do my opponents have something, up their sleeve, if you will, here? The Tassadar leans towards the Task Tracer. For me, I think it's going to be kind of inevitable at this point. B-Step now has to decide what they want to be looking to be able to pick up. I don't see them picking Tracer as just a raw deny. Tracer doesn't really thrive on her own.
Could they Tracer Zarya?
It could be, not nearly as effective as Tassadar, not even close in that department. It's very time-centric, whereas it's just permanent shields onto it when it is the Tassadar. So B-Step, they know this, and they have to have it into their consideration into this game. What are they going to be looking to do? Malfurion is already off the table too. They have to feel like, well, maybe APM was pressured a little bit too far. Insta-lock the Rag. Or not the Rag, excuse me, the Rhaegar. Man, this is neat.
He could
I love drafts like
Brightwing
this.
too. Like they could ETC Brightwing. Brightwing bombs is something that B-Step had perfected back in the last season.
Yeah,
Brightwing is one of them, but Ragnaros is the other.
All right, so Ragnaros is picked up here. I wouldn't consider maybe one of his better ones. It's not a bad one. I mean, Rag is just that Molten Core is so powerful. He doesn't have a bad map. He just has somewhere he can accentuate the map objective a smidge better. But we'll see here. GFE now on their next rotation. The Brightwing pickup, maybe a deterrent, maybe saying, hey, we don't want to be able to pick up the Tracer, but I think I'd still go that route. If not, I expect it to be a Tychus, and then probably going to be their ETC.
Yeah, especially with 2 ETC players. They could always, I would say leave Tracer till later on to see if it's more favorable for them, but then they risk B-Step banning it. Any chance that it's Illidan instead of Tracer?
There is a chance, but I think it's significantly weaker. Not only is it, I don't consider it nearly as good on this map as, wow, they don't, neither route do they go. They just let it right on through, and I can't imagine that Brightwing was enough of a deterrent to not go that route. I just can't. Brightwing isn't that good into the Tracer for me to be like, well, you know, there's no way around it. So I'm guessing that they just didn't want it. They want the over-shielding Vala, Zarya, Tassadar. A very interesting trio. Ariel is something you have to be afraid of on the more standard support side for GFE now. BSEP might consider that as a ban. This is... I'm getting nervous for these guys at this point, the thought process here, because that was a huge swing in a direction I don't think I would have expected if I was B-Step. And now I'm considering like really unique off picks, like how do I deal and catch them off guard, and like Medivh's the first thing that comes to mind, but oh goodness.
They have to think about what didn't work for them, what was the problem last game, because this is scarily similar to the same composition as last time. They were hovering Falstad, but quickly switched to Ariel.
Ariel, Tassadar, Vala is a trio that nobody wants to deal with. I personally agree with the Ariel ban over any other hovers that they would have had. So now, B-Step. ETC was removed. Not that bad for B-Step. Again, CAF can play a lot of different heroes. What if you get weird and you go in the Leo route? Catch them off guard, play something you feel comfortable with. I don't look at this as Brightwing as like an appealing you know, composition, but you could kind of go the sack the Leo, re-engage onto your opponents. I'm just trying to, not so much what I think objectively is the correct answer, but more of what fits B-Step under this pressure that they have to be facing here.
I almost think that CAF would want to play Muradin over Leo at this point.
Yeah, it's got to be one of his, you know, his comforts, and then K1 I feel has got to be the exact same scenario, which would be Li Ming. It's going to be the Muradin Li Ming, but
he could play Falstad too.
Do you feel like that's worked?
K1 plays a great Falstad.
That is true. Tyrael Tychus.
So nothing suggested.
I can say objectively I agree with these decisions a lot more. I love that. Giving, again, with Zarya and Tassadar off the table, you take the Tyrael to be able to help out the Brightwing whenever possible. And Tychus is just an absolute monster.
Akaface's hero is left. Most likely, I doubt it'll be just Zarya and Tassadar as support for Gale Force. Rhaegar is still probably the #1 choice for him. There are other options. Kharazim, there's Tyrael, potentially, if they want to try to burn down high health bars.
I think what I'd be looking for if I'm Gale Force Esports at this point, oh goodness, this is rough. Give me a moment here. This is a pretty difficult draft, especially without having the heroes directly in front of me. I think I'd be looking to go. Oh man, I think I have to go down the Rhaegar. I wouldn't have gone the Muradin. I would have put that as Leo with the Zarya, but then I think I would have gone Leo Rick. I think. I do think I like Muradin a little bit more on Sky Temple, just purely on the fact that he's a lot better of just, you know, taking the skirmish onto the shots themselves. He doesn't have to risk hitting his W to ensure any kind of trade. And he's got that mobility on out there, but now B-Step, last pick.
We're waiting on, I believe, iDream's hero. But Dream can play Tychus if they want to play another backliner. That's the beauty of B-Step. And I'm sure multiple people can play Ragnaros. We've seen Mac on it before.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he's the only Ragnaros player. It is so hard to put B-Step in a corner, and Gale Force, I think, is proving that it's tough to do that to them too.
Nobody puts B-Step in a corner. No one.
That was a softball to you, sir.
Oh, man. I'm going to Haka. That's my guess. Varian. Don't know how I feel about that with the performance that he had before. But that being said, far better map. Not necessarily to be successful in the 4-man. Don't need the kill potential. You just need to be able to hold your own onto the shrines themselves. And that part makes this a bit more appealing of a pick for me. Also considering the fact Vala is really the only raw DPS source. Maybe a bit vulnerable to the Varian itself. But CAF played it before. We saw the ban in the game #1. There is fear on the side of GFE. They put everything on the line for that pick.
I gotta ask.
Yeah. Do I feel the same way?
Yeah.
I'm going for it.
You think
I'm
it's
going for
B-Step?
it. It's B-Step.
I think it's going to be B-Step too. I do believe it's going to be B-Step. They have Brightwing, who is a good one for APM. They have Tyrael to help out with that. Varian has something. Both Dream and K1 Pro play a good Tychus. I think it's going to be a hard-fought victory, though, and I wouldn't be surprised if I were wrong.
You can't just say that. I need it. You can't just be like, well, you know, Gale Force could come on. I need
What?
Give me the victor. 100%. No backing out.
B-Step.
B-Step is it? All right, we're both going to be wrong because that's how it works when you're a caster. You put out your predictions, it's well-educated, and then everybody likes to prove you wrong. But we'll be together in just a moment here for game #5 between B-Step and Gale Force Esports. Sky Temple, we know the history. We know how much is on the line for these guys.
We couldn't have a better map, a better battleground for the last game because of how good it is for both sides. It really does not favor either side.
Yeah.
Even though the statistics, right, for B-Step, I still think it...
But that was a different version, too. It has to be kept in mind, right? Like, yes, they do have a history as players of being very successful, but that 5-man group, you know, with 2 of them being different, I can't say, well, obviously these guys are going to be able to win. And I think it is a really raw skirmishing. It complements a little bit of macro. It's just enough for both teams to really show this is what we excel at, and that's why we're going to be able to beat you.
Let's see who will win this awesome series between B-Step and Gale Force Esports, game #5. Let's get into it.
Alrighty, last time these teams played, it came down to this. And again, it will. APM on Brightwing, iDream on Ragnaros. K1 Pro is going to be the Tyrael. Varian's going to be played by King Caffeine. And McIntyre is going to be on Tychus.
That's what I'm saying. You never know who's going to play what. They have such a flexibility. In the red, Gale Force Esports, proving they're just as flexible. Akaface is playing Rhaegar. Equinox playing Tassadar. Fan playing Vala. Crowan playing Muradin. And Michael Udall playing Zarya.
Okay, so... oh my goodness. Okay, so the last time we saw these guys go to head-to-head, it was the tiebreaker match, correct?
It was. In a Sky Temple game too, but Sky Temple was the first game.
Okay.
And
that was the one that stuck out the most to me in my head, is it went to Sky Temple, and GFE was able to pull out the win on that, correct?
No.
No? B-Step was still able to.
It was a 2-0 for B-Step, but GFE looked really good, and then there was some weird decision-making around boss. And the decision-making has been the story of Gale Force Esports. Coming to now, to where they are today, from where they were at that point, it is refreshing to see.
Yeah, and this is going to be a 4-man skirmish here at the Vision. It looks like there's going to be a little catch on the Cap. He should be fine. K1 Pro, he uses the back half of his Q to be able to follow up. And these teams are actually 4-man skirmishing in the top lane while trying to get a transition of a Rhaegar versus Ragnaros wave clear on the bottom. And I think that Dream's definitely going to get the upper hand of this race. But it really doesn't matter if there's enough pressure here in the top lane for Gale Force Esports. And the Shrine's now going to be spawning in 5 seconds. This is where the fun begins.
GFE taking down that tower gives them a lot of advantage looking at the first temple phase because they can continue to focus on this top lane. If they go there, B-Step now say, do we try to fight them there with potentially kind of a team that needs to ramp up? Or do we just go to the mid? And that's the choice for them for now. They're going to the mid. They want to keep Ragnaros in the bottom. They want to keep Brightwing just soaking in the top. They're willing to give up here a little bit in the top lane, and already that shows that either B-Step has changed up how they play this battleground, or Gale Force Esports knows what B-Step would like to do and is forcing them to not be able to do it.
Yeah, it's a very good response here from both sides. The only major downside that I do see on the side of Gale Force Esports with that Rhaegar split pushing into the Rag is the fact that Ragnaros has been able to pretty much secure his level 1 talent almost already, sitting at 3/4 of the way, maybe a little bit, more free than you would typically see since Rhaegar's not necessarily the best skirmisher here. But the shots were perfectly traded for these teams as Cap moves in a bit aggressive. He might be caught out here. Tychus is not going to be up there in time. K1 Pro with the smite will be able to ensure he's right on out.
Dodge on the Stormbolt was nice, too, from King Caffeine. Level 4 talents acquired by either side. Working toward level 7 and that second tempo phase, which will be in the bottom lane. And it's interesting. It's very funny to see these two players, Akaface on one and then iDream on Ragnaros, just going back and forth, trying to keep up with these waves.
All right, so this game has been very respectable, I guess, of one another, right? Nobody's kind of taking the risk of moving out too far. Is there anything on the next Shrine phase that you really expect somebody to be able to pull ahead? Because that's typically where we see it. At Sky Temple, it's going to happen on bottom. It's going to be the race to 10. Is there anything that you're looking out for?
There's a little bit of freedom from B-Step, I think, knowing that they don't have to worry about the fort being down. And that is nice in and of itself. They can be more focused here on the bottom lane and trying to take out towers, maybe even the wells, but the Giants were picked up right around the same time. K1 Pro, though, cannot get taken down. Gets hit by a Stormbolt.
He hasn't shown.
He's already used Smite, right? Oh, no, there's Smite to get movement speed.
Yeah, and he will be able to barely make it out there. Good amount of pressure here happening on the bottom lane from Gale Force. They are doing a very good job of making it to every objective before B-Step, which I mean, to be honest, has happened quite frequently into this series. APM on that Brightwing just trying to get that soak, but there's so much harass and just raw poke coming out here from GFE that they are, again, going to set themselves ahead on the structures before the Shrine even begins. The Shrines will be spawning in about 20 seconds now.
You know, I really hoped that B-Step would be able to get their bruisers and then force Gale Force Esports to come and respond to them up in top, knowing that Gale Force still has their fort. But Gale Force has been pushing so hard in this bottom lane with these shields.
That was optimistic of iDream there in that scenario. He's now not even going to be able to eat some of the shots here. Gale Force will probably just pull away, knowing that we can get maximum value out of our Shrine for now. Brightwing is still up top. When it comes to builds, everything seems to be relatively normal. The only, even slight variation, but it's not that crazy anymore, is going to be the Skullcracker on Murden.
There's no cleanse available for B-Step. Not a huge ordeal. There's not a ton that you would need it for. Murden is the scariest, I guess, for now. Maybe Rain of Vengeance from Bala, but B-Step did not feel comfortable that they could contest the Temple and bottom. They didn't have bruisers pushing top, but they have had Brightwing there. They put some serious damage on the mid fort. Thankfully, it had been taken down somewhat from getting all of the mid Shrine earlier. But I think the best thing for B-Step is that at this point, even though they have lost more structures, they have not lost out on experience at all. As long as they continue that up, once they get heroic abilities, we can see this game turn fast.
Yeah, and I think their comp definitely kind of thrives after the 10 mark again with Tyrael. I think Varian also hits a relatively large spike there.
Yes.
And Sulfura's Smash is pretty much nothing to laugh at when it comes to its DPS output here. So you're right. They've done a very good job. The only minor criticism other than maybe being a fraction of a second too late for B-Step is when that rotation from Gale Force happened on mid and they kept Brightwing in top, I would have just teleported Brightwing and say, okay, we're going to get your 4, and if you want to take this fight, we'll take the 4 versus 5 all day. A little bit more patient than maybe I would have liked to see out of them, but it's understandable. This is Game 5. There is a lot of pressure. Communication has to be on point in these teams. You don't want to be the guy who made the mistake that lost your team this series at the start of HGC.
Right, and if there's any sort of issue with any of the players, of course you want to pause right away because this match is so important. Both of these teams play tomorrow, so this sets the tone for the rest of the weekend for them. We talked a little bit about Gale Force Esports playing Naventic, but what about B-Step? They'll go up against Team 8 tomorrow, and Team 8 did very well, 3-0 in their series.
Yes.
And that's Glaurung's team.
Yeah. And Prismaticism.
And Prismaticism.
So again, a little bit of the core, breaking up there. That's amazing that we ended up having that
right?
For day number 3 here. Yeah, I'm impressed within this series, though, in this final game that, yeah, what we've seen from B-Step, that they've done a very good job of, dealing with, okay, we have fallen behind, but we haven't really fallen behind in the experience. And really that always is going to be more valuable than the structures. Experience beyond everything in Heroes of the Storm is the most valuable resource. And so at least they haven't lost there. I'm just excited to see how 10 plays out. We've already seen the variant. I'm mainly looking at variant. It's going to be K1 Pro has to perform on Tyrael, and then variant, is it going to be effective? Is it really going to be justified? That weird ban that we saw in Game 1, the lack of performance in Game 3, I believe it was. So that's my main focus.
Do you think it'll be a switch up in heroic abilities, Varian being our only one with 3, that he'll change it all, or still stick with taunts to start the stun lock for the team?
That's a good question. I don't honestly know. I think that if they go for the taunt, they win the long fight. Not even. No, that's a really good hard question. There's 2 shields and a main support on the opposite side with a lot of HP. So that puts it in a position to where you go, do we take the burst into the double shielding and try and be able to take them out, or do we take the taunt for the long run? I think taunt's the safer route, but I don't know if I think it's the right one.
You mentioned shielding, too. There is a possibility that Varian could pick up Shattering Throw at level 16, which does a ton of burst damage to shields. So maybe we could even see something like that.
Yeah, we might be able to. I don't know if I feel like we could, but either way, we'll be back in just a minute, guys. We got to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with game number 5 in a moment.
Marines are the toughest frag magnets in the galaxy. But when they're in trouble, guess who they call? Medic! Winning a battle is more than just shooting enemy soldiers. It's about saving your own. I protect every member of my squad with my life. Sometimes I think I'm the only thing holding them together. Who am I? I'm Lieutenant Morales. I'm your medic. I'm gonna need a lot of bandages.
It is said that I hunt alone, wandering these bitter lands, far from civilization. But in truth, I hunt with family. One that I hold close. I protect them, and they protect me. I am Rexar, champion of the Horde, and I never hunt alone.
Heroes of the Storm. Play free and experience the new StarCraft-themed battlegrounds. Rated T for Teen.
Welcome back, and thank you for your patience. We're ready to rejoin the game number 5 between Gale Force Esports and B-Step.
Let's get to it. 10 has now been achieved here for Gale Force Esports. Heroics are going to be relatively standard. We do see the Ancestral Healing over the opportunity of maybe a Bloodlust. B-Step is still going to try and find their way to be able to pick that up. For now, if you know, you maybe forgot a little bit of something during our small break here. It's just been a lot of patience in rotations. B-Step falling behind, not in experience, but in structures.
0 kills versus 0 kills. That could all change in a moment,
Emerald
though.
Wind.
Yeah, that's the Brightwing bomb aspect, but I don't know who... Because normally what they would do is they would stage dive in and then teleport in, throw everyone out. Similar effect to a Horrify, but with 2 heroes instead of 1.
I'm guessing this is going to be like a taunt into a wind and just try and make sure nobody can keep them up. I don't know. I almost would have preferred to see, you know, going with a Colossus Smash then. Because now that you've gone taunt with Sanctification, I was originally thinking, okay, well, you might stand a chance in the long team fight over time, but then now taking away Blink Heal from Brightwing, I don't know if I feel like that's going to be the case. Yes, she does get a slight passive bonus from her AoE, but without speccing into the range, and then also, you know, just in general, it just doesn't produce the amount of healing that I think this team is going to need, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. This is going to be interesting. The Shrine now going to be spawning both teams equal when it comes to experience. Brightwing will be able to tank the shots on top. Tyrael is still in the mid lane.
Yeah,
and
he's starting to move down too. Now that the mid fort was picked up, finally B-Step takes down 1 fort. Gale Force realizes, though, that not everybody is here for the team. K1 Pro's in a weird spot. How's Eldoran's Might, though? Just jumps over the wall. It's down for a few seconds. But Brightwing is holding the top temple.
Yeah, she'll do well on her own up there. The question is, when does she decide to come down in that wall? And stun might be it. K1 Pro is just going to retreat. So no, they in fact are going to be willing to take this trade. But the structural advantage I was referring to earlier that Gale Force was able to pick up in the first 5 minutes of this game is allowing them to threaten the keep front wall on bottom, whereas B-Step is still trying to secure that bottom 4.
Do you remember when we commentated Gale Force on this battleground and you said you can't keep trading temples?
Yes, when you're behind. This is
what's the point when B-Step needs to kick it into high gear?
That one was okay. It's acceptable that you make it to that point and willing to take that trade. It's suddenly when you're losing 3/4 of a keep is when those trades are no longer, you know, it's fine. We'll wait for the next one. We'll wait for the next one. Those are the kind of moments where you have to go, guys, we just got to take what we can get. And right now it's nothing pretty.
Everyone was sort of scouting out the boss area.
13 advantage.
13 is here for B-Step, though.
Are they going to try and force one of the 2 forts they managed to get down? It seems like this would be the place where B-Step, if they were to initiate, would try to.
Brightwing is forever alone in the top lane.
Yeah, she's just AFK. Oh, the attempt to be able to get the stun there. Crowing, good job door tossing over the wall, making King Caffeine look a little derpy as he runs into it, but very well done there.
This game, 0 kills to 0 kills. 13 almost here for Gale Force. Maybe they will try to force a fight. McIntyre sees Equinox.
Doesn't have a double E yet, so that would be the only one. But if Taunt is not going to be able to hit, he will be able to survive.
I feel like B-Step are like, what do we do?
They're like, guys, we aren't getting the fight that we wanted, even though they just had an opportunity to initiate it in the mid lane. It does feel like, you know, they haven't figured it out. We also see an ice block there. I think that makes a lot of sense considering the Emerald Wind choice here on Brightwing. It's a little bit safe. You can make some pretty big plays, actually. Almost like Twilight Dream, a little bit different because the cast time's a lot harder to be able to get off Emerald Wind specifically. All right, it's 1 shrine. B-Step. You have no ability to run away from this one, or you lose a lot of structure, probably too much so. This is going to be a Gilly. This is going to set the tone here for this game.
They have the technology. All heroics are ready. Gale Force has the better setup around the temple, but that doesn't mean much. Brightwing's in the bot lane, but she can always come in if she needs to with the phase shift.
I think I would just like her to do that right now, to be honest. Try and keep everybody as healthy as possible for as long as possible. Just teleport onto somebody you know will gain value, like half out of your shield, and just join the fight.
That's Odin. It's go time. Let's go. Brightwing hasn't come in yet. She's still pushing the bottom lane, but the rest of B-Step want to push Gale Force Esports off of the point. Strafe goes down. K1 Pro gets movement speed to assist him out of a damaging situation. B-Step are staying fairly healthy now, and APM has joined the fight.
Yeah, and you see them trying to be able to move in. Their cap is relatively low. Same with K1 Pro. They didn't Sanctification the, the strafe coming out here, and the team is falling low. They're trying to stack and make the fight, but they need to just initiate if they're going to do so. There's going to be the Emerald Wind, the split, the taunt, the cleanse comes out, keeps Fan alive. Sanctification is used. Crowan does receive his ancestral healing. B-Step, their health bars are way too low to stick around. Smite might be enough. Mike Udall's probably going to throw a nice nade there at K1 Pro. It doesn't matter. Rag ends up going down. APM barely going to be able to make it out here, so only one was lost. But again, you saw exactly what I was referring to when questioning the heroic options on the side of B-Step. They couldn't win the long game a little bit. They were trying to figure out, when do we go? The burst came out with the strafe. They didn't want to bust out Sanctification just for the strafe there. And they were like, guys, how do we, what do we do to be able to deal with this? Until it got to the point where they're like,
we just can't.
We got to try something.
They threw down Odin, but still postured for a while, poked where they could. But that poking versus TAS, Zarya shields, and Rhaegar heals, especially with cooldown reduction and mana reduction, Gale Force Esports barely took any damage. They're just like, it's just a flesh wound.
I think B-Step's real major shot here is solely going to be a teleport onto King Caffeine as he charges on the Rhaegar, gets the taunt, a polymorph, and a secured kill. There is always a lethal option here for B-Step. I just don't know if Akaface is ever going to be able to give it up to. It's funny, too. Both the teams here just posturing aggressively on opposite sides, waiting for them to step into the wrong area. They did ping their Gale Force, and they will scout it out as Crowan and everybody knows where they are. 16 advantage for only a small second, but Crowan, good Stormbolt, says not today. We'll get 16 first.
It was an understandable decision. They knew Gale Force would want to check boss, but here comes the fight. Taunt goes down on Crowan. Polymorph to continue.
The Emerald
There's
Wind.
the Emerald Wind, exactly what you called for. Muradin, finally, B-Step breaks through all of the shielding, all of the heals to get a kill, to put a point on the board.
Oh, B-Step, you're getting a little greedy here. That was only going to be one person down. Yes, you do have Holy Ground, Taunt, and Sulfura Smash, but this is one of the few mistakes you can do to turn this momentum swing against you.
Just turn around and fight.
There's going to be the glow up. They do try and take the fight. That's going to be a top. Prescience is now enacted. That is going to be the strafe. Good interrupt coming out from Tychus, but look at the health bars. You can't out-heal this. If you go, you have to go, B-Step, and that means Sanctification and everything involved. Now, what was an advantage proceeds to be not one. A disadvantage more than anything because they have to back. The shots are now going over to GFE.
I thought maybe with Expulsion Zone down, so did B-Step, obviously. But without getting a kill right away, it took far too much damage. B-Step want to fight over the temples, and now they have to. Their mid keep is all but down.
It's got to be now. Teleport needs to happen onto iDream. They need to look to get those split. There goes Cappy. Goes in. K1 Pro's getting the shields. Everybody's diving. Sanks used very early. The Holy Ground's the split, but a Dwarf toss out, and all of those zoning tools proceed to gain nothing here for B-Step, and they're out of resources now, Gilly. This is going to get tough.
No Emerald Wind. Taunt available in a few. There's still a temple in the bottom. And maybe at this point that they just have to step away, get some off of that temple. They can at least get there. Oh, Gale Force already halfway through the mid temple.
I'm trying to find a win condition, and it is Gale Force starting boss. Is really what I see for B-Step. They don't win the short game. They don't win the long game when it comes to that. Outside of just obvious picks that we've seen and can happen and sitting in some obscure brush.
Varian took Shattering Throw. They're going to try to burst through the shields.
Bold move. I don't know if I have confidence in that being able to pay off, but we'll find out here. Equinox trying to zone. K1 Pro will be able to get that juke there. Holy Ground.
iDream gave movement speed to K1 Pro.
Yeah, there goes the, all right, here goes the nade. APM's already pretty low here, but his passive hopefully will be able to restore his HP. Gale Force transition down, only a couple shots left. There goes the combo. The Holy Ground split. That was no Emerald Wind, but it did force an Ancestral from Aka.
And Avatar to boot. So a lot of heroic abilities. Fan off to the side, throwing out strafe. Only right lane to try to help heal up. Molten Core used. That buys time.
It does buy time, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. K1 Pro is in a tough spot. 7 seconds before Sanctification's up. Emerald Blade keeps him up. The Polymorph. Suddenly, Fan is going to be dead. Mike Udall now trying to retreat. Calf goes in. He's going to have this the stun for 8 seconds before Taunt comes back up. Sancta is available too. Holy Ground for the split. Not enough. Smite comes in. There's going to be a taunt in 1 second.
Sanctification's used. Here comes the taunt too. Jumping onto Zarya. Trying to get in. Meteor hits Polly on Michael Udall. The Lion Spang across the wall. Second kill.
Oh my goodness. He's going to throw it over, confirm that. But now you have to ask yourself, Gale Force, what did it cost you to get to this point of the game? You're already down a keep. Your top keep is withered away. Yes, you are confirming the shots on bottom. You won't be able to confirm the keep yet, I don't think. We'll see if this burst. No, it shouldn't be enough. There we go. And the game is close. You have the experience advantage, but you need to make something happen with these death timers because, let me put it simply, that wasn't pretty.
I'd like to remind you, though, Infernal Shrines, it only took 1 fight to put them back in the game and a 2nd fight to end it.
Yeah.
Maybe B-Step can do that here again.
That was the one. All right, so what is better than a 5-man Mosh? Is a 5-man Sulfur Smash? Maybe? I'm just looking at how do you one-up that performance? I don't think you can.
No.
No.
But they could still win 1 more fight and through that bottom keep win the game.
Yeah, that is an opportunity here. Giants are pressuring through bottom. Knights with Brightwing. She's trying to sit back, not reveal until she sees somebody onto the map. Everybody kind of hovering, fearful of the boss. There is a huge selling point to B-Step's composition in the fact that they control any boss that's an option. I Dream, though, possibly going to get caught out. Smite is used. K1 Pro throws his Q in one direction. Brightwing might need to teleport. I Dream's in a tough spot. There goes the Force Wall. Here comes the TP. He's got the shield. And everything's going to be all right. That was a lot of heroics, or excuse me, a heroic coming out from Ragnaros, but worth not having him dead during the next phase. And boss is still an option here. Gale Force, I think, is going to panic and try and maybe force a boss and then try and take the fight.
They're going to go after King Caffeine. Another Force Wall is available. Expulsion Zone 2 going after Cat. Ragnaros, Molten Course from the side. Threw out Q, but just not quite enough to hit with the swing to get a stun. Okay. And a turnaround kill. Still nobody down for B-Step, so they're almost to 20.
Yeah, the only way I see B-Step actually being successful here is if they get 20 before the Shrines. Then Gale Force should look to just concentrate. If they do get the trade, a minimum of 1 keep will be falling here. The Night Pressure on top. B-Step has to get 20 and take the fight to Gale Force whenever possible. They are making the transition outward right now, but not having those heroics is one of the few situations Gale Force would feel. I would not risk that without Sanctification, but it looks like they feel their 20 is enough. Odin's even going to be popped early. This is it.
This is it. Crowan might see it. Vala's heading down. The bottom keep is low enough. If they can get this, they could win the game.
It's all about Holy Ground.
Here goes the damage.
Spin.
K1 Pro's waiting for it. Holy Ground's already down off to the bottom. Odin's in the back. Dimensional Shift's been used once. Crowan's jumping on the point. He just gets the point. He just steals it.
Everybody, B-Step now is on full retreat, but I don't know if it even matters with that. Emerald Wind was interrupted. Holy Ground was used aggressively, and without Sanctification, one person now is falling. Gale Force Esports secures the boss, and now they're going to look to core. I don't know if B-Step can stop this.
B-Step doesn't have Ragnaros. There's no Molten Core to help out with the defense either to buy them time.
All right, so now the boss is knocking at the keep as much damage as they possibly can. 43 seconds before Rag is going to be alive. Sanctification is up, but McIntyre under pressure. Brightwing sends out the teleport. You see everybody looking to peel, but the boss's HP is all we should set our eyes on now, as it is still at 66% HP. APM is going to be stunned out. Will the follow-up DPS be there? Great peel, but that Sanct is going to gain little to no value. The taunt is used. Emerald Wind as well. Ow, continuous wins of all things. The only thing to maybe stop B-Step from, Gale Force from winning this game, the rewind, and he goes down.
Crowan 1v1's Brightwing to her death. No Ragnaros for 7 more seconds. B-Step are just looking for the fight, for the kills that they can get, but it's Tychus who goes down. Ragnaros will be 1 second in, but it does not matter. Gale Force Esports breaks the pattern, takes out, steals the boss, and will win over B-Step.
I don't have words. I'm at a loss for words at that boss play that happened there. And so actually we're going to take another look at exactly what happened over that boss, because that single-handedly determined the game. There were a lot of resources here. So it all starts with the fact that Crowan is just able to move up onto that, and everybody's so focused onto the fight. Holy Ground was already used. that was really it. And Emerald Wind, the fact that it was able to be interrupted, that was the two things B-Step was banking on. Holy Ground, because they didn't have Sanctification, which is your backup plan,
but
right?
Holy Ground still pushes them off the point.
Yes, but without taking the 4, not having the cooldown reset faster, so you have like what I think the base cooldown's like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
So 12 seconds to be able to do that. You threw it out blatantly too early, so